So, in the last lesson, we just went through most of these things. I decided to just maybe start from the old document, but we'll be proceeding to everything else that we did. So we just looked at working with text. The last thing we looked at was text styles, making custom styles, etc. Okay. The last thing maybe that we can do before we leave this particular menu is under editing. We then found we've got search, we've got replace, we've got select. Okay. So for example, if we put select, we can then choose the type of select that we want. If we say put select all, we'll take everything that is on the document, including the starting bit. If we come to select again, we can select objects. Okay. And objects now would be stuff that we are supposed to work with. Although select all in this particular instance would still be selecting everything. No, let's I just clicked away so that I can give it. I can put select objects. So I can pick a particular object that I want to work with. I don't think we have objects as yet. I can also select text with similar formatting. Okay, so let's say I'm still under select object, right? So all right, select text with similar formatting, and then it just then selects the text that has similar formatting or formatting that's exactly the same. So we can be able to then work with select. So select, that's how it works. We've got replace. Okay, replace now gets into our text and looks for a specific text that we want to replace. So for example, I can say find text age and replace with years, something like that. I can find next, and then after finding, I can then go to replace, and then my age has changed to years. Okay. I can also use the go to, whereby I can go to a specific position. I can go to a page, I can go to a section, I can go to a bookmark, a comment, or a footnote. Okay, this will actually get into a little bit later on because we need to actually know what these things do. However, we can also just then have a normal find where we can look for a specific element that we want to look for. So in this particular case, we had put age, but let's say we want to look for something that is, or that might be common. We might have typed it. I don't remember now since the last lesson was in a while. But let's say we want to look for the word transport, like that. I can simply go and find next, and then it says word has finished. Do you want to continue searching? Yes. We have reached the end of the document. Do you want to start from the beginning to search? I click on yes. And then after doing all the options that are there, it will still tell us that we have not found anything. So it means the word transport is not available. So that's how we can actually use our find and replace. However, let's say in our text, we've got something like V. I then go to next. It will get all occurrences of the word. Okay. And then as it gives us the occurrences, we can actually now be able to look for a specific word that we are hoping to find. So this is our find and replace. And then the next one is just our find. Okay? So if we work with our find, it comes to our navigation. And in our navigation, it gives us the word, and then it gives us all occurrences of that actual word. So from the start to the end of the document, we would have actually put all the elements that are there. Okay. So this is all to do with the home menu or the home tab. Okay. So let's get into the next tab that we want to work with, which is our insert. But we don't want to work with this document. We want to create a new document. I think I forgot that I closed off the other document. So I go on new, say blank document. I want to save this document as document, and then we want to say insert tab like that. So we click on save like that. After clicking on save, we are good to go. So here's how we will then eventually start working. We are done with this particular stage where we were working with the home. So let's just then put insert tab functions like that. So we go to insert, and then in our insert, we can then be able to do so many things. So many things. Let's just maybe make this a heading, make that a heading 1, go back to insert. So the first thing that we can work with our insert is the pages. Okay, so the first page we can put is a cover page where I can just click on cover page. It gives me the types of cover pages I can get. I choose the one that I want, and it inserts our cover page. Okay, so what this then means is, if you notice, we had our cursor on insert, but the moment we put a cover page, it then put a new page before the page that we're working with. So that is what our cover page pretty much does. So if we then insert and we work with it there, we can now be able to have a new page. Okay. Same applies for the next section, which is our blank page. If I click on blank page, it simply takes me from where I am, and then it adds a totally blank page after the page that I'm working on. However, we've got a page break now. A page break is difficult to explain with no text. Maybe we'll actually get into a page break in later stages when we're doing our references, or when we're doing our design, or when we're actually doing examples of how we can work with our page break. However, the next thing we want to do is insert a table. Okay, so how do we do that? We simply go on table, and then we highlight these squares until we get to where we want to get to. So already that then becomes our table. But however, our table is actually something that we can work with. Okay, for example, if I highlight there, I can insert a caption, and my caption goes table example, like that. So we have put a table caption, which is one of the elements that we can work with at our table, where it just pretty much puts a caption for our table. However, we can also have captions for different elements that we can put. But so far, since we're working with the table, we just want to explain how our table works. So in this particular instance, I can highlight a cell, which is this one. Let me just highlight it so that we see what a cell is. I go to borders and shading, I go under shading, I select for a cell, I then pick a color that I want, I put that. I click on OK, I click on OK, and then there we can see what our cell looks like. I can do the same for this, which is our column. So I can go to table properties, borders and shading. I then say apply to cells. I can also put a color, like green, and then this then shows this is my column. So this, I can put some text where that shows our cell. This shows our column. And then if I do it this way, it then shows our row. I can also do the same table properties, borders and shading. Where it says fill color, I then put a color that I think would represent my row, and then this becomes a row. So we're then saying our row is from this end to the from that 2, 3, 4, 5 cells. That's our row. Our column is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells again. The way our row and a column meet is what we call a cell. So that's how our tables work. However, we can also be able to insert our table in terms of rows and columns. So I can then go to say insert table, and then I specify the number of rows and columns that I want. So I can say I want 3 columns and 4 rows, something like that, so that I get a table that I would want. But I've got a fixed column width, auto fit to content, auto fit to window. Okay, so I can select auto fit content. I then click on OK, and then I have my table looking like that. So it would generally give us what we have asked it to do. So whatever content we put in there, we can then be able to pretty much work with that content to do whatever it is that we want to do. For example, I can put numbers. Okay, I've just put those numbers. Sorry, I was just typing this out, and this then makes my table look like this. So this can be similar to our pin pad on the phone, where one side it looks like this, and we've got our numbers. Okay, this can also become our table. However, we can also make designs for our table. So by default, it's already selected on that design, but I can select the table, pick another design. So with each of the designs that are there, I can see how my table will look like. Okay, but I think for me, I would pick this design, and you then see that the table sort of changes. So there's many elements that we can work with our tables or for our tables. However, working with tables is pretty basic. You can be able to then play around with your table to do things that you might want to do. Okay. For example, maybe let's do one more example of our table. I put the easy table, which is there. I can then say, let's say I want to merge columns or merge cells. I can select these 2 columns. I then merge them, which are side by side. I can also select these 2 cells and merge them as well, so that I've got this setup, I've got that setup. I can also merge columns that are right below, and then my table pretty much looks like that. So in the merging of our cells, we'll actually be saying we want to do certain things. However, we can also copy and paste a table within a table. So if I copy that table, I come to this location, I can actually paste it within the existing table. So it's things that we can be able to work around and work with for our table. But I think for now, this has pretty much looked at majority of the areas that we need to look at within our tables. The next thing we want to do is our pictures. So I can go to pictures, and I can pick a picture. For example, I can pick my desktop picture. I click on insert, and I've already inserted a picture. Then you then find after putting a picture, I've got all these elements that I can work with. Okay. For example, I can go to remove background, which automatically picks what it assumes is the background. So if I keep changes, you then find my picture will then look like that. But I don't want my picture to pretty much look like that. I can also make corrections. Okay. For example, I can pick that correction, and then you'll see the picture sort of changes its look. I can work with the color. I change the type of the picture. Artistic effects, I can do that so that my picture looks slightly different. So there's so many ways you can play around with your picture to give the result that you think would be perfect. Okay. I can also put a border, picture effects, picture layout, position, wrap, crop the picture, you name it. But some of these things we can always get back to at a later stage in our learning. Let's pretty much move on to the next option in our insert. So online pictures, for example, if you've got access to internet, like myself, you can click on online pictures, and then it will take you to a Microsoft based store where you can see the pictures that are available. You can either get your own personal pictures if you've got a OneDrive, or you can do a Bing search. Okay, so with a Bing search, I can pretty much put anything that I'd want. Let's say I want to put a bed. Okay, I just click on search, type in bed, then I click on search. Um, it's supposed to automatically take me to the browser. I don't know why it's not working. So I think I'm facing a challenge with my. Okay, perfect. It's now back to normal. Okay. So for example, it didn't do my search. I'll just pretty much pick a picture. So let's say I take this one. It is taking quite some time. It eventually responded, but it's taking so much more time. Uh, I'll just pick a picture. I'm hoping that it's a good one. Eventually downloaded, yes, but let's wait for it. So I just inserted a picture from the internet. It automatically picks a picture and then puts for me, which is great. If you are also doing some work that will need content from the internet, I think this will be quite helpful. I also forgot to show you what we can also do with our picture. So if I can right click on it, I then go to where it says insert caption. I can put a caption for my picture, but in the sense of my picture, it's not supposed to be a table, it's supposed to be a figure. And then I can select where it goes either below or above, and then I can call this a beach front, like that. I click on OK. I can also select this one and insert a caption as well, and then I call it car image, like that. I click on OK, and then we are good to go. Okay, those are some of the things we can play around with our images or with our pictures. At the same time, I can put shapes. So, for example, I can pick any shape that I want. Let's say I want to put that shape. Right, that's one of the elements that I can work with. Although shapes now are a bit tricky because you need to know where your drawing area is. And there are very many shapes that we can't actually look at all of them. So for example, I can just put a couple of shapes, but there are many. There are way too many for us to actually look at. So for example, these shapes I can be able to work with. Although now with shapes, we've got a problem that my text is continuing like this. And sometimes I might not want to have my text on top of a shape. Okay. So this then where comes this uh, option right here where it says wrap text. So I can say square like that, which then means instead of having my text show up on my shape, I can then put my text below the shape. Okay, if I do the same again, I go to wrap text, I can also put maybe tight. Okay, tight also does something different, but I'm sure with having this as an example, you can play around with the different wrap text options, which also apply to our images. They also apply to our tables. Okay, so for example, let's say I put my text there underneath the table, and I'm just typing something so that we have a little bit of text. So that we have a little bit of text. I can right click on the table. Um, on the table, it's slightly different, but let's figure out how it works. Maybe we actually need to select the text and okay, on the table, I think I'll have to figure out how we do it. But you can also wrap text with our table. Okay, maybe let's select everything and then how do we do it? I'll figure out how we do our text wrapping for our tables and explain it in the next section that we'll be working with. Um, outside of just our shapes, we can also have a smart chart. Okay, this is a little bit easier because it's smart, like it says. So I can select smart chart. I can then maybe put a hierarchy. I select that kind of hierarchy. I click on OK. And there we go. I'll have my hierarchy placed there. So we can then say CEO, director. The next one can be human resources. The next one can be marketing. The next one can be technology. The next one can be production, like that. So we now have a smart chart where we can also play around with the way that it looks, also change the colors so that it looks a certain way. Okay, but there's also many types of charts that we can't actually go through all of them. I think you can then play around with this since you now know where we get the charts. However, with our charts as well, we can also be able to insert a caption and wrap text. So for example, if I say insert caption, I can then say organogram. I hope I spelled it right. I usually have an issue with my spelling. Blame it on the computer. Okay, so that then becomes my smart art. At the same time, I've got a chart where I can click on the chart. I pick the type of chart that I want. I click on OK. I can also insert a chat. Okay, so with my chart, I can also then play around with the contents and pretty much change however the chart looks. But as part of just our learning about insert, I think this will be enough for now. The next one is a screenshot. So our screenshot pretty much means we can be able to take a screenshot and then paste it at a specific location. Okay, let's say I open back uh, my basics, but I'm at this particular spot. I click on screenshot. I can actually get the basics image. So if I click on it, I'll actually be able to copy the entire basics as it comes. And this is easily done because we are still in Microsoft Word and the other document that we've got is within Microsoft Word. However, we can also do a screenshot on a space that is not in Microsoft Word. So I can go to screen clipping where it also takes me to Microsoft Word, but I can select a section that I would want. Let's say I pick that paragraph. I've actually just gone to the page and done a screen clipping of whatever it is that I'm hoping to do. And this then makes our life a little bit easier because we then don't need to have a secondary uh, application to have this done. Okay, so we want to move on to the links. We've got a hyperlink, we've got a bookmark, we've got a cross-reference. So those are the types of links that we've got. The first one we want to work with is a hyperlink. Okay, so what this simply means is it connects 2 points. Okay, so how does it connect 2 points? We could actually say if we want to use the first one, let's say I want at this particular point, I come there, I then say this is a table. Okay, since it's our table, we can actually make this be our connection to the table. And for it to be a connection to the table, we need to highlight it. We go to home, we then make it a heading 1. Okay, we come down here and we say we want to connect to our table. So I'll just scroll down, I get here, I then say connect to table, like that. So I want to connect to our table. So I just right click on my table. I go to my insert. I go to hyperlink. I then say place in this document. So I want to connect to my table. So the text to display will be connect to table. The hyperlink will be taking us to table. And we click on OK. And then we now have our connection to the table. So if I press Control and then click on this, it will actually take me to the word table like that. I can also do the one that takes me to the insert tab because you noticed when I was doing it, I also had it show up. So I can then say go to insert tab, okay, like that. So I can highlight it again. I go to hyperlink, I go to insert tabs function, I click on OK. So it actually then creates our hyperlink for the 2 locations. Okay, so this is a hyperlink within the document. Okay, so within document. However, we can have an external hyperlink. Okay, external hyperlink to website, like that. Okay, so let's say I want to create something that links to a specific website. So I'm just going to pick a website at random, but it's not going to be my website, but it's just a website. So I am not affiliated with this website, but it's just something that came to mind. So let's say I say www.spotify.com. That's the website I want to work with. Yeah. So if I type it out like that, it already automatically becomes a hyperlink because I've put it like that. That's one way of actually doing our hyperlink. So if I write it down like that, it will actually know that I am doing a hyperlink instead of what we have done. Or we can also do it in the same way that we've done, whereby I'll type out the word Spotify like that, and then I highlight the word. I click on hyperlink. I then say existing web page. I then need to put the link .com like that. I click on OK. These two will do exactly the same thing, where this takes me to that particular website. Although in this particular instance, I've then named it in whichever way I want to name it. Okay. But at the same time now, we can also work with emails. It can also be a hyperlink. Let's say I want to send to info@facebook.com. I don't know if that exists. That can be a hyperlink as well. If I highlight on it, it will actually give me the mail to option. So it still gives me a certain type of a hyperlink, but it's linking to a website, except for the one that is for the email. It's linking to then sending a message, which in essence is also a website. Okay. Then the next thing that we can do is we can also create a hyperlink to create a new file or document, which is what we are looking at next. So let's say we want to learn about birds, okay? And then we call this study of bird, like that. That's what we want to actually be working with. So we can highlight it. We go to hyperlink. We then say create a new document. And then our new document should then be birds report, something like that. If I click on OK, it then uh, will complete this process. Okay, click on OK. And then the moment I click on OK, I then create that document so that it exists. And if I then link to it, I can be able to then open the document and see what that particular document does. Okay. The email one. Whilst I was creating this, I then realized that there's another option that we can then say, let's say we want to send an email to myself. So let's say we want to send to George, right? I can highlight George, I then go to hyperlink, I then go to email address, and then I do the following. I put my email address at subnetmask.co.zw, help with query, please Okay, there's no recently used email addresses. If I click on OK, then that works. So let's click on these two hyperlinks, or rather, let's click on this one first and see what it does. If I click on it, it should then respond by sending me to a web page, and that web page should then give me whatever it is that that website does. So if it's a real website, it should be able to take me to where it will take me, and I'll be able to start from there. If not, I would have failed to reference my hyperlink the way I'm supposed to reference it. Okay, just wait for it. We're waiting. Okay, it's working. So it took us to the website. So this is the website that we put. So at least this link works. Let's go back. We click on the next one. So it's control plus click. Perfect. The next one works. Let's see the the email one. I'll need to click. Okay, it then takes me to mail. Okay, mail. I don't think I have mail installed. I think I picked the wrong one. I think I picked the wrong one. Okay, let me just close it. Let me click on it again. Oh, I'd actually set it as the default. Oh, my mistake. Okay, not to worry. I can actually change that. Default apps. There we go. I don't know why it's taking long. Okay, let's see. I think it's taken me somewhere that I can just fix and we get back to our lesson. Oh goodness, that's taking long. Let's do the next two. Whilst that waits, I click on the birds. I then can open my birds report. I come back again. I click on George. George takes us back to what we're trying to fix. Okay. So since there is no mail account, we might need to use an alternative. Let's see now. Okay, mail. Let's change that. Let's put Outlook. Let's try it again. So I click on info.facebook. Perfect. So this is what it just does to you. Then takes you to an email address. You can type out whatever it is that you want to work with, and your hyperlinks are working as planned. Okay. The next part we want to work with is our bookmarks. So with our bookmarks, they pretty much do similar to what we have been doing. And a bookmark is just simply a reference point. Okay. So we can then say example, for lack of a better word. And then select example. I go to bookmarks. Um, and this should be example as well. That's the name of the bookmark. I click on OK. And then let's create another one. Okay, so bookmarks pretty much work more or less in the same way. However, for example, these bookmarks that had already been made. So we made example and pour, and after going to hidden bookmarks, we can actually see that we have insert tab function, we've got table function, we've got these ones. So basically our bookmarks will be similar to how we did our reference for anything that is within the document. So it would make sense if we've got more text or a particular document that we are working with that has more options for the bookmark. So in other words, we still need to then put whatever it is that we are putting within our document. So for example, if I then add pour like that, I go to my bookmarks and I say go to. I should be able to select each one of the bookmarks as long as they're marked. Okay, so maybe the reason why it's not working is they are not marked as bookmarks. Okay, so let me mark them. Go back to insert. I go to pour, go to example. Okay, it's just going to the same one. I'm not sure why, but that's how it's supposed to work in that same manner. I think they will need to be marked. Okay, okay. But still it's not working the way we hope to work, but it's showing you the example of how bookmarks work. The next one is our cross-reference, right? Where we need to pick an item that we're working with. And then we need to have a paragraph number and then which item we want to work with. So this then becomes tricky since we haven't done most of the things that are required for this. So I'll just explain how it works and then hopefully in one of the lessons we'll be able to go through it. So for example, we can pick a heading, okay? And then that heading becomes something that we want to actually reference. So if it's going to be the example and then we say insert, we would need to actually have some content that references this, okay? So all I simply did was I picked a heading type, I picked the page number, I said insert as a hyperlink, I then went on to insert, and it's doing what it's actually doing is it's just adding that, which then means this will be a cross reference of our example, okay? And then our cross reference basically means we are referring to something that already exists and we want to work with it within our document. Okay, so that's then how our marks work. Sorry, that's cross-reference. The next element we want to work with is comments, header and footer, text, then symbols. Okay, so the next thing we want to get into is comments. Comments are also tricky to have because comments come on a specific element. Let's say I want to select this chart. I can select a comment and then actually state what I think. The chart is not accurate, like that. So what this then means is I'll have all my comments coming on to this side. And you then notice if I put comments, I can put as many comments as is possible and say not a good picture, like that. So I can put as many comments as is possible, but my comments are just to be able to state or to mark if I'm doing some marking for any of the work that is done in Microsoft Word. So that's pretty much how our comments work. We can have a header and a footer, which also contains a page number. So to do our header and our footer, we just select header. We'll put the header so it comes at the top of the page. Sample can be what we put in our header. We can go to the footer and then put whatever content we want. So this can be 222 style of work, something like that. So we will have a header and we'll have a footer. Okay. At the same time, we can also put a page number, whereby we can just now have page numbers on each and every page, like that. So that's also these sections here. Pretty basic, pretty simple, and we can work with them to do whatever it is that we hope to do. But they make our life easier and simpler. The next one now deals with our text box, our quick parts, our word art, our drop cap. Okay, so let's come to the end of our document. We can select a text box. So for example, a text box is a box that contains text. So you type out whatever it is that you want to type out in your text box, and you've got your text, and you can be able to play around with your text in all these given formats. But we just want to learn how to use a text box. Okay, we can go to insert again, and then we go to quick parts. Okay, so this will have automatic text, document property, a field, a building block, among other things. This, for this level of learning, will be a bit too advanced. So I think if I'm to do a second course on Microsoft Word, I'll explain how some of these things work. But basically, all we are saying with quick parts, we are putting elements that are not normally found on Word or that are not normally used basically on Word, and we are adding them to suit what we are hoping to get. So the next bit is our word art, which is right next to our quick parts, where I can select and then put my text there. So go get your prize. So what this then means is we can now be able to see what this does, and you can see we've got the same setup we saw then, where I can even change the setup of the text, I can change the fill, the color, you name it. Okay. We get to the next one, which is a drop cap. So a drop cap simply means we want to drop a certain part of our document. Okay. So let's say, oh, we're just actually doing an insert, so we don't have any text. Not to worry. Let's go back to our internet. We do lorem ipsum. We just get some text randomly from the internet. and lorem ipsum is just some text that no one uses, or rather no one owns, but it's just free to use. So if I highlight everything like that, I copy it, I come to my document, I'll paste it, make sure I can move this because it'll stop showing my text. Okay, perfect. I think after moving it like that, looks a bit better. There we go. So we want to drop cap. That's what we want to work with. So we just simply highlight our paragraph, although we don't really need to highlight all of it. Maybe we can highlight a few lines. We go to drop cap and then we select dropped. Right. So since it's an I, we really don't see how it works. Let's actually undo that. Let's pick the one with the M. So I go to drop cap and I select dropped. So I think it just works with the first letter of the paragraph. So it gives us an I, and that is what it looks like. Let me maybe increase so that you see what it looks like. So what our drop cap does, it just takes the first letter and then it drops it for 3 lines, and then it shows us like this. Okay, so maybe if I wanted a new one, like I was hoping to do, maybe I could do it as follows. I select that content. I can paste it there. I think that would make sense. I highlight it again. I selected drop cap. I select dropped, and you see it's a bit better with a bigger letter or a different letter, where it actually shows you how the capital letter is actually dropped. So from there, we then want to have the following. We want to have a signature line, a date and time, and an object. Okay, so let's say we want to put a signature line. These are now disturbing me. I think let me actually remove them. We've seen what they do, so I don't think we pretty much have use for them. Okay, so the next thing we want to do now is we want to see what the signature line does. Okay, so if I select it, it then gives me the following. So with our signature now, we need to have the following content. So for example, I'll use my name and my title. Maybe it could be programmer. My email address. Like that, and then I click on OK. So that then becomes my signature. However, as you can see, this is where my signature will come, and whatever it is that I would have actually typed out will then show. So if I want to have a signature line, I'll actually have this stored as my signature line. At the same time, I can also put a date and time where I just pick the format of the date and time, click on OK, and I can insert it in my document. object will be similar to our add-ins. Maybe we need to actually just explain them in a slightly different one or in a more advanced section of our learning. Let's get into the last section of what we need to learn in our insert, and then in the next segment we'll actually be working with the design. So we go to our equations. We can actually have equations, we can actually have symbols. So we'll start with an equation. An equation, as you know, is basically a different type of setup. So for example, let's say I pick that as my equation. This is already right as it is. There's maybe very little that I can change or edit. I can put a different type of equation where I can also select this one, okay, where I can then be able to work with whatever that equation should do. My maths is a bit on the weak side, so I don't remember how most of this stuff works, but take it from me, that is an equation. At the same time, we can also work with symbols, where I can put a symbol based on what I would want to be doing, okay? So we can put symbols, etc. And this sort of marks the end of our insert tab. Although, like we said, we will need to work with our add-ins, we need to work with our online video, we need to work with our quick parts, we need to work with our objects. So we'll maybe do a section of that in the next video, and this will then mark the end of the insert video.